Well, ironically, as we hurtle to the end of the show, let's talk about speed. Is 20 plenty? The speed limit in Wales, as you know, has been slashed from 30 miles an hour to 20 on all residential roads as of yesterday. But some drivers are saying that it's just a war against motorists, and others are saying, no, it will improve road safety.
What difference do the two speeds make? If someone's hit by a car doing 20 miles an hour, they have a 97% chance of survival. Just 10 miles an hour faster at 30. The survival rate drops to 92%. Well, Harakar Nadiogan is the co-director for campaigns and impact with the climate action charity Possible. Howard Cox is from the drivers group Fair Fuel UK and says it's another anti-car policy. It's safer though, Howard.
I disagree with it. It's a crass policy based on emotion, not real fact. But if you take the Queen's Belfast study they had recently, they couldn't find any difference between 20 and 30. And at 20 mile an hour, we emit more emissions than at 30 mile an hour. And you take when you're monitoring your speedometer more than you're actually looking ahead, taking advantage of what's happening on the road ahead, that can't be right.
20 you can stop over a shorter distance.
Yeah, yes, you can. But, I mean, I'm all for 20 mile an hour outside schools, primary schools and areas of where vulnerable people are, like care homes and things like that. But we don't need it on a dual carriageway, which I took 3 hours to come here this morning, and the last hour was mainly because of 20 mile an hour zones.
So let's target it, but not have a blanket imposition like they have in Wales.
Now, this is about making our city safer, cleaner, healthier places to live. And in a climate crisis, we need to get more people walking, wheeling and cycling. And the number one reason people say they don't is because of safety concerns. So ultimately, we know, all of the research points to this is about safety, this is about saving lives. There's about 30,000 people that die or seriously injured on Britain's roads at the moment, just last year. And this is about actually saving lives.
He's saying it doesn't make any difference. He's saying there's no evidence.
But I would say there's huge evidence to support that, 20 miles per hour leads to safer streets. But ultimately, this is also good for drivers. This means, saving cost on fuel, more efficient cities, getting them moving. And, it's a much more pleasant drive instead of accelerating towards a red light and then hitting the brakes. It's smoother. It actually means a better ride for everyone.
Howard?
I've been campaigning for 13 years, and as usual, I'm always up against emotion, not real fact. The fact is, you're saying about saving in terms of fuel consumption is a complete myth. You're in second and third gear at 20 mile an hour. You're highly revving. You're putting out more NOx, something like 137% more emissions. The climate change issue, the climate argument, is completely and utterly erroneous.
Hang on, but Hera said that actually, if drivers are driving more slowly, there is more chance that people will go on their bikes or they'll walk rather than get in their cars because they feel that urban roads are safer.
Yeah, but it's a freedom of choice. Well, I don't want to go on a bicycle. I want to use my car. I'm safe. I want to listen to Led Zeppelin.
I mean, what I would say is...
no, but seriously, those are the sorts of things that are always up against. It's emotion, not fact.
This is the same thing that happened when it came to drink driving laws way back when people were saying it's freedom of choice. I feel I'm safe enough to be able to drive. Ultimately, what we need to do is look at European cities, such as Oslo. They've managed to eradicate. They had no deaths in the past few years when it came to collisions because they said that collisions are a design flaw and you can design collisions out of your system.
What did they do on their roads?
So one of the things they did do was reduce speeds when it comes to urban areas. And
what about punishing people who break the limit? Is it reasonable, do you think? Should there be equivalence between somebody who gets 3 points or 6 points or 9 points for breaking the speed limit on the motorway, say doing 85 in a 70, and doing 24 in a 20?
I think fundamentally, if you're breaking the law, of course, there has to be repercussions. But what I think would be more effective and what I would really like to see is drivers retake their test every 10 years, for example, so that we're catching the people who, for health reasons or for other reasons, aren't fit for driving.
On the way up here, I was in a taxi, 20 mile an hour, we were overtaken by cyclists and electric bikes. But they're not subject to any penalisation or any sort of law. It's not fair on the driver. Stop having a go at drivers for all the ills of the planet.
Howard, Hera, thank you.
Thank you both.